I talked to a hedge fund guy, Greenwich-based, originally Scandinavian, went to a liberal arts college, about the hollowing out of the American middle class. And he said, sort of in sorrow, but also as an investment strategy, the low-skilled American worker is the most overpaid worker in the world. Another observation, again, this was from the CEO of a big fund manager, and he said this wasn't his point of view, but a point of view expressed at his investment committee, was that the hollowing out of the American middle class didn't really matter if you could look at it from a global perspective. And this was how he put it. His point was that, and this is his colleague's point, if the transformation of the world economy lifts 4 people in China and India out of poverty and into the middle class, and meanwhile, 1 American drops out of the middle class, that's not such a bad trade. And in some ways it's not, but if you're in that American middle class, it's not so great.
You notice how she talk about it's not a bad trade because it ain't her, right? They trade us. You see the games they play? It's so who's gonna be that one? You are you okay being the one that drops out to give space for the 4 that they're saying to come over? Because it ain't her dropping out. Because you notice how they speak about it outside of them. It's not them. It's just for American middle class. But it's, and you notice it said it's not a bad idea when you look at the grand scheme of it. She says it's not a bad idea when you look at the grand scheme of it. It's not a bad idea. Because if we can lift, again, listen to the words that as if they're being so virtuous. If we could lift 4 Indians and Chinese out and bring them into the middle class, it just means we're just getting rid of 1. But, you know, it's not that bad of a trade, well, unless you're that 1. Listen, you can play that part over again for yourself and let that digest and feel the energy and hear the words. Listen to every word she says, trying to make this so altruistic. Just listen to how she's trying to. And she was successful because many of you bought into it. You allowed them to destroy your businesses when many of us told you don't close your doors. And many of you bylaws and all of you that come and smashing the windows of small businesses, you are destroying your own darn lives and your own country, being the foot soldiers for this plan and all the other plans that has been publicly broadcasted by them. I'm going to play it one more time. My mind just says, play it one more time. Play it one more time.
I talked to a hedge fund guy, Greenwich-based, originally Scandinavian, went to a liberal arts college, about the hollowing out of the American middle class. And he said, sort of in sorrow, but also as an investment strategy, the low-skilled American worker is the most overpaid worker in the world. Another observation, again, this was from the CEO of a big fund manager, and he said this wasn't his point of view, but a point of view expressed at his investment committee, was that the hollowing out of the American middle class didn't really matter if you could look at it from a global perspective. And this was how he put it. His point was that, and this is his colleague's point, if the transformation of the world economy lifts 4 people in China and India out of poverty and into the middle class, and meanwhile, 1 American drops out of the middle class, that's not such a bad trade. And in some ways it's not, but if you're in that American middle class, it's not so great.
The hollowing out of the American middle class is not such a big deal. It's not a big deal when you look at the wholeness of it. So how dare you, you middle class? How dare you being so low skilled and overpaid? We just want to get we want to get rid of 1 of you. And that's why many of you didn't care that your colleagues lost their jobs and you went on this high and mighty virtuous train wreck about them losing their job because they didn't comply. As long as you got your job, as long as you kept your job, you'll do whatever to keep your job because you don't want to be the one, right? Okay. you the one thing about evil that you haven't, if you haven't figured it out yet, it never stops, eh? It never stops. Because it's not about helping no Indians or no Chinese. It's not about being virtuous. You who sell out your own and don't stand and say, listen, no, their job, every one of us have the right to be here because we work our butt off. We sacrificed. We deserve to be here. When we say no, not one of us lose our middle class status. You do it to one, you do it to all of us. We didn't stand together. Is it too late? No, it's not too late, because now we can stand together. Get rid of the party affiliations. The Trudeau government, the Trudeau Liberals, the NDP Liberals, provincial and federal, want to see you fail. And they're tugging and piggybacking on your virtue and have you attack each other. Talking nonsense about your human rights end where my nose begins. What? Yeah, one of Doug Ford's MPPs said that and you elected them. So how dare you want Disney Plus like her? She canceled her Disney Plus, so you should cancel yours. How dare you want to go on ski trips, vacations, retirement savings? How dare you want to have a retirement income? How dare you want to have a cottage next to Doug Ford? Like when he goes up there, should only be him. How dare you want to leave a legacy for your children's children? How dare you want to have a family-owned business that's feeding yours to come? How dare you? How dare you want to have the ability to attain and experience and have your children have a quality of life like their children? How dare you? How dare you, middle class? How dare you? How dare you, American middle class? So when she wants to talk about trying to have this virtuous, we're helping the Indians and the Chinese. And when you want to argue and stay on this loyal liberal NDP voter bandwagon and don't want to make this about helping the Indians and helping the Chinese, and when they want to make it as if they're helping immigrants by taking away the quote unquote Western family middle class, taking away one. But it's only one, right? It's only one middle class for we're helping four. And we're allowing that for them to take away the middle class of one of ours. And I say ours because we all earned it. We sacrificed. We got up 3 a.m. We got up 5 a.m. We stayed on shifts. We sacrificed our party life for a future. We didn't spend our baby bonus, our child tax benefit, or our extra income tax on frivolous stuff. We invested. We invested in our children's future. We would drive an extra hour for them to get to that boarding school, for them to be able to get better education in the public school, because the public school knew exactly what they were doing to be a part of this agenda. And now that we have, they say, hold on, how do you? No. They ripped the rug from underneath one of ours, and you were okay with that? You were okay with that? For them to take it away from one of us? So then it becomes now every man for themselves. And then when you look around and they find another reason, then you're going to want support. No, we have to stop this. They come for one of us, they come for all of us. You allowed that talk to come in. And that is why it was okay for your colleague to have lost their job, and you see security guard with their pompous self, so happy they have a job, to come and escort doctors and nurses off of properties because they stood on integrity, and you allowed that to happen. Did you really see the Trojan horse in this? Can you see the Trojan horse in this pretending and coming in as one thing, but in the belly and the heart of it, it's something else? I see the Trojan horse. Many of us see the Trojan horse. They had to find a play. They had to find a way that would be the best disguise to come in and get rid of the American middle class. They're making it about India and China and Ukraine and Mexicans. Any kind of trigger word to create this division and, oh, you don't like it. No, this is not about anti-immigrants and anti-immigration. No, it's not. As I said to you, it's a different type of immigration energy. It's different. This is not about immigration. This is about taking away and destroying the American middle class and trying to make it look like you're being virtuous. It's not. This has nothing to be about humanitarian. And they want to tug at your heartstrings as humanitarians. This is about an attack on the Western American, all of us as American middle class. This is about destroying the middle class and bringing in those who are going to be compliant, who are going to kiss ass, who are going to kiss the pinky ring because they're so happy. But I'm going to show you an article that came out in regards. I'm going to do that for the next podcast. I know I said I was going to make this 45 minutes. I know some of you are laughing like, see, I told you she wasn't going to make it for 45 minutes. Lady O could never make it for 45 minutes. I'm going to do the podcast showing you an article in regards to how the hypocrisy of saying you're helping the immigrants, and when they come here in sub-zero, they can't even afford. Rent is $3,000. So they make it sound like they're helping, and they're bringing over 4 to be in middle class. What middle class? Rent and mortgage, food. Which middle class? Who are you fooling? Only those who are willing to continue to stay fooled are you fooling. So this thing that they're trying to make this about, it's not that. It's about taking away from the lifestyles of all humans. Because think about it. Wouldn't it be more altruistic? Wouldn't it be more virtuous for you to put pressure on the Indian government, on the Chinese government, on the Mexican government, the Mexican cartel? They went down there, the three amigos went down there and had their trade deal, Canada, America, Mexico, in the heart of when the Mexican mafias are, bodies are all over, and Justin Trudeau and Biden, everybody acted like, said nothing about what's happening in the state of the people living in the land. Wouldn't it be better suited to say you're really helping them by putting pressure on their governments so that the people could stay on their land, the place they call home, and have the quote-unquote Western American life in their land? Why come over here? Why? Many immigrants, including myself, we would have loved to have that lifestyle where we call home. I love it here. Don't get me wrong. Beautiful. Happy. Happy. Why? Because where I left wasn't going to be able to award and afford me and my children the ability to, they say, have the dream and be whatever we want to be once we put in the hard work. And now we put in the hard work, and now you're saying one of us is going to have to lose because of your lies and your loathing of the middle class? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Notice that these leaders, Freeland, Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, Miss Notley in Alberta, Doug Ford in Ontario. Notice these leaders who have influence. They're not taking away their net worth. They're not affecting their income. Because every one of them, their net worth increased over the past 3 years, the lockdown and the pandemic. Their net worth increased. Many of them own businesses that profited from the lockdown. Their businesses made signages, and their businesses helped make masks, and their businesses, many of them, their net worth, many of them had conflict of interest in regards to the pharmaceutical and the vaccines. Many of them benefited from it. And that's why we had huge articles and huge conflict of interest that were trying to get to your attention, people of America, the Americans, North, South, and Central. These leaders, every one of them, their net worth skyrocketed. They're not destroying their net worth while they're destroying that one middle class. That's not a big deal. They're not investing in changing India, changing China, putting pressure on China, putting pressure on India so that the people can stay within their land. So those citizens have the right to stay on their land that they call home and have the quote unquote Western middle class lifestyle that these liberal ministers and NDP ministers are dangling in front of them to come on over here. And for them to come on over here, they need to destroy us. The just transition that's happening in Alberta, destroying industries, Ontario destroying businesses, taking away careers, getting rid of doctors and nurses. That's your plan? And how to make room to bring over the Indians and the Chinese? Why not put pressure so that they can stay in their land and enjoy the fruits of their labor? They labored there, just like we labored here. They grew there. They put human resources. They had blood, sweat, and tears. They tilled their land. Their ancestors worked that land. They have roots and heritage in that land. Why are you not making sure that their land is prosperous? Because that wouldn't suit your true plan, would it, Freeland? Oh no. That would be real virtuous. That would be really brave and bold. That would be humanitarian, wouldn't it? Instead, no. Let's just destroy and take from the West and give to those outside that did nothing here. They did everything over there, but they need to come and take from here to build for them here. There's something wrong with that. There's something very wrong with that. Every one of them love their country. They love their land. They love their heritage. They love where they were born. They want their home to be free. But you allow their home to be dilapidated. You allow their home to have conflict. You create the conflict. You stir the conflict that would force them to leave and make it look like you're being virtuous. And I'm going to end with this. Most immigrants, when they leave, they're leaving with a bittersweet taste in their mouth. The bitter is that this is their home. They have friends, memories. The sweet is for the promised land that they're being told. So many of them, when they come here, they don't even invest. They send their money back home, Miss Freeland. And you know this, because you have ties with the bank CEOs. That's why you were able to freeze the accounts of Canadians. Oh yeah, you know. Many Chinese, and that's part of the agreement with many of them, that they send their money back home to their economy, to their families. The monies that the middle class, when they come in, they're not staying here. At least the middle class Americans, our money stay here. We invest here. We're not sending it back where? We are here. We are here. Legacies, families are here. If we send back, it's send back to help, but not send back to build that country. And that's what they do. They come, they benefit from here, and they send it out. They send it back home. Because why? That is where their heart really is. And they desire for their homeland to be free. So you're not doing them and us any service with this bag of lie that you are passing around town. Because that land is theirs. There is an encouragement that is going into this immigration energy that it's okay to go into somebody else's house and take from them. That's what's happening. There's an encouragement to go and take, go into somebody's house, go into somebody else's house and take from them. And it's okay when you look at the bigger scheme of things. Is that what you're saying? Go and take from their house because their house have a lot. How about speaking to the landlords of the dilapidated houses, Miss Freeland? How about speaking to the landlord of the other house and tell them to get their house in order and leave our house alone? This is Lady O. Stay in action with faith and possibility. Walk in and protect your light. Your purpose will find you. Say what you mean and live like you mean what you say. Thank you for hanging in to another episode of Mirror Work Conversations with Lady O. Look yourselves in the mirror and be honest about what you have allowed to come into Canada. These people that you praise and that you highlight and you love on them, they are destroying the American middle class. They're hollowing out the American middle class. I'm going to end it with you hearing her say it once again. See you in the next episode.
I talked to a hedge fund guy, Greenwich-based, originally Scandinavian, went to a liberal arts college, about the hollowing out of the American middle class. And he said, sort of in sorrow, but also as an investment strategy, the low-skilled American worker is the most overpaid worker in the world. Another observation, again, this was from the CEO of a big fund manager. And he said this wasn't his point of view, but a point of view expressed at his investment committee, was that the hollowing out of the American middle class didn't really matter if you could look at it from a global perspective. And this was how he put it. His point was that, and this is his colleague's point, if the transformation of the world economy lifts 4 people in China and India out of poverty and into the middle class, and meanwhile, 1 American drops out of the middle class, that's not such a bad trade. And in some ways it's not, but if you're in that American middle class, it's not so great.